Welcome to Retiring Well. I'm your host, Michael Reese, and I'm thrilled to have you along for the ride for this week's show. We have a wonderful show lined up for you this week. We are talking about retirement income. Specifically, what are the mistakes that people make all the time? Maybe same mistakes you're making potentially. What mistakes could you be making that could really cost your future financial security? We want you to be comfortable during retirement. You know, you only retire once. You want to make sure you do it right the first time. Let's make sure you do it right the first time. Let's make sure that you don't make those mistakes that so many others are making. That's what we're going to talk about in this week's show. So I'm really excited to have you along for the ride. And folks, here's the thing. It's a great time. Grab a pen and a piece of paper, grab a cup of coffee, because you're going to want to take some notes. Folks, Retiring Well, it starts right here, right now.
Retiring Well with Michael Reese, helping you make smart decisions with your money so you can live a better life. Today is the day you can take back control of your money. Retiring Well with Michael Reese, where we believe your best is yet to come.
All right, this week in Chalk Talk, we are going to be talking about the impact that market losses can have on your income. And it's been a long time since we've seen market losses of any significance. The last time I remember, I've been doing this for over 20 years. I've seen it happen twice where the markets have lost half of their value over, a 1 to 3 year period. But it's been a while since we've seen a big loss. I think 2008 was the last time. And gosh, that's coming up on 10 years really fast. So at the same time, you need to think about, well, wait a minute, what happens when you live for 20 to 30 years, right? Think about that for a minute. If you live 20 to 30 years in retirement, you're going to see significant market drops, probably 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 times. And you need to understand the impact that those losses can have on your income. That's key, because remember, your income equals your lifestyle. So these market losses, you want to make sure you're protected against them. And I'm going to show you why here in a minute, because I'll give you this stuff. This is a conversation that I had literally every day at the end of 2008 and the beginning stages of 2009. I had this conversation every single day. Here's how it went. I would have people come to me and they'd say, Mike, at the beginning of the year, we had $500,000 in our accounts. And typically they wanted $20,000 a year of income, maybe 25, right? 25. So if you do the math there, what you learn is that's about a 4% distribution rate. That's no big deal. We can handle that. 4%? Who cares? Easy peasy. Well, that's not what they're telling me at the end of 2008 and beginning of 2009, though, was it? What they're telling me is they're saying this, Mike, what do we do? What do we do? Because guess what? They didn't have $500,000 anymore, did they? By the end of 2008, you know what they had? They didn't have that. They had about half that. They had more like 250K is what they had. And you know what they said to me? They said, Mike, I still want $20,000 of income or $25,000 of income. I still want that income, but they start doing the math and they're saying, that's, what is that, 8%, right? That's an 8% distribution rate. If they wanted $25,000, maybe a 10% distribution rate. And you know what I heard from them all day long? All day long. They said, Mike, what do I do? Because I know I can't keep taking that percentage or I'll run out of money. Right? pretty obvious. You can't take 8% out of a portfolio and have it last forever. You know you're going to run out of money at that rate. You know it. And they did too. And you know what they said to me? They said, Mike, I still want 20. I'm just throwing myself out there. Is there any idea? You got anything for me? They were desperate. Desperate. And you know what I had to tell them? I had to tell them all pretty much the same thing. I said, yeah, I got an idea for you. You know what you need to do? You need to tighten the belt, right? You got to tighten the belt. You can't take 20,000 anymore. You just can't do it. You need to reduce that. If your portfolio got cut in half, guess what? Your income needs to be cut in half. Now, I saw people who are worse off than this. Some people weren't quite as bad as this, but this was a very common discussion. And the mistake they made was this. They let the markets determine their lifestyle. They let the markets determine their lifestyle. And, you know, here in our offices, we take the opposite approach. We say, wait a minute, what do you want your lifestyle to be? Now let's design a portfolio to make sure that you can keep, if you want to spend 20K on 500 grand, let's make sure you can keep spending 500K on, or I'm sorry, 20K on 500 grand. Let's make sure that 20 grand's always going to be there, or at least is very likely to be there. Let's make sure of that, regardless of what the markets decide to do. You see, planning for your income is a little backwards. When you're in growth mode, hey, you have goods, you have bads, no big deal. But when you're taking income, then it's a big deal. Make sure you get that stuff right.
Will your retirement vision be your retirement reality? Centennial Wealth Advisory invites you to an eye-opening and exciting event packed with up-to-date, valuable, and important information. Join us for a free presentation with complimentary gourmet dinner and find out what you're missing on these vital topics. What is the suitability versus fiduciary standard of care in the financial services industry? What are the biggest tax traps? What are the hidden costs in mutual funds? Why is getting a second opinion the most important financial decision of your life? And much more. Choose the date and location that works best for you. Thursday, July 13th at the Grand Traverse Resort in Acme, or Wednesday, July 26th at the Inn at Bay Harbor in Petoskey. Presentations start at 6 p.m. and are free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow. But seating is limited and fills quickly. Call 888-608-5825 or visit sen-wealth.com to reserve your seats today. There is no cost and no obligation. Don't miss this important presentation, making your retirement vision a reality. Call 888-608-5825 today.
Centennial Wealth Advisory, your independent retirement planning specialists, now in 3 convenient locations in northern Michigan. 818 Red Drive in Traverse City, 3890 Charlevoix Avenue in Petoskey, and 3687 Old 27th South in Gaylord. Contact us at 888-608-5825 or visit sen-wealth.com to schedule your no-obligation complete retirement review at any of our northern Michigan locations, Traverse City, Petoskey, or Gaylord. Centennial Wealth Advisory. Your best is yet to come.
Hi, I'm here with Larry Flynn. He's one of the financial advisors at Centennial Wealth. And, you know, Larry, a lot of folks, as they're watching the show, you know, we're asking them to give us a call. Come on in and visit with you and the other guys here at the firm. And I'm sure they're wondering, well, gosh, if I call, you know, what's going to happen? What's that like? I'm sure there's some uncertainty out there. What happens when somebody calls to come visit with you and the guys?
Well, the first thing happens, Mike, is if they make a call, we have somebody from our office reach out to them and basically try to spend about 10-15 minutes with them on the phone just to try to get to understand, you know, what are they trying to accomplish, what do they want to expect when they come in to visit with us.
Okay, like what kind of questions they have, what they're trying to, yeah, and I'm sure a lot of folks, they're just trying to get a maybe a second set of eyes or a second opinion on things, right?
That's right.
So they call up, someone reaches out, they get some information so that, so I guess essentially you can be better prepared for them when they come in, right?
Well, exactly. Before we want to meet with them, a lot of these people want a risk analysis, they want a fee analysis, they really want, again, that second opinion on what they have. So we might ask them to send some information ahead of time so we can make that first meeting very productive.
Well, of course, because we don't want to waste their time, and you want to make the best use of your time. So maybe by being prepared, sure, right, you can make for a good meeting. So here we are. They come on into the office. I know Pat meets them up front usually, or maybe they're in Petoskey or Gaylord. What kind of things are you talking about? What types of analyses are you usually doing for people? What kind of areas are people finding these conversations to be of greatest value?
Well, Mike, the first thing we do when we sit down with somebody is we really want to know what their story is, where they came from, what they're trying to accomplish, what are their dreams now that they're either nearing retirement or getting in retirement. Right. These are important before we even get into any other discussions because we want to know where they're coming from.
Well, yeah, you got to know where they're from and what they're trying to get to before you mess around with any planning, right?
That's right.
And so once you get through that, what are some of the things that you find yourselves typically talking about with the folks that come visit?
Well, the most important conversation, of course, is how do they feel about investing in the first place? Before we even talk about anything, how much risk are they willing to live with? How much are they willing to lose in just a given year? We saw so many people, didn't we, after '08? They had that conversation with the advisor. They put them in a conservative portfolio, and the people lost 30–40% and had no clue they were taking that kind of risk on. We're not going to let that happen.
So basically, you're trying to help learn about their situation, learn what they're trying to accomplish, give them a full analysis to make sure that they're on target, and if they're not, I'm assuming you give them ways that they could fix things.
That's right.
All right, fantastic. So folks, there you have it. Sounds like a pretty comfortable meeting to me. Any arm twisting going on there, Larry?
No arm twisting.
Of course not. I didn't think there was. Again, if you want to visit with the guys, just pick up the phone. The number's on the screen. We'd love to see you in the office. Love to see if we can help you out.
It's your retirement. How will you live it? How will you be remembered?
Will you be able to take me on vacation?
Will you be there for my ball games?
Will you teach me your values? You'll be able to play with me.
Oh, help me go to college. How will I remember you?
Have the retirement you dream about. Contact us today.
All right, welcome back, folks. A little bit earlier in the show, you saw during Chalk Talk, you saw what happens when the markets take a nosedive, and they do from time to time. You know that. Markets don't always just go up. They go up and down. And the thing you need to think about is, gosh, if you live another 20 years or even 30 years in retirement, you may see 3, 4, 5, maybe even 6 periods of time when markets have a significant downturn. Now, you'll see lots of times when they go up too, of course. But the question is really this: how much can you pull from your portfolio and at the same time be confident that your money's going to last? So what is that percentage? What percent of your portfolio can you take out each year and really feel good that your money's going to last? Well, the good news is, you just asked the question. Hey, great, we've got answers. There was a landmark study done way back, it's funny to say way back here, but way back in 1998. It seems like yesterday to me, but it's been a while now. And back in 1998, almost 20 years ago, the study said this. They said, if you have a retirement portfolio that is roughly half in stocks and half in bonds, if you had a portfolio like that, and maybe a little more stock or a little more bond, but pretty close to those numbers, it said that you could take out 4%. 4% per year and feel comfortable that your money's going to last. So let's do some math on that. Let's imagine you had $500,000 saved for retirement, and you just apply the math. You say, well, what's 4%? Well, that's $20,000. Okay, so that means you could take $20,000, according to this study, $20,000 a year, and it would last, if you pulled that money out, it would last, your money would last for the rest of your life. A very high probability that it would. Not guaranteed, but a high probability. Well, that sounds great, right? Why don't we do that today? Well, here's the problem. That study came out in 1998. And if you recall, the 80s and 90s in the stock market, man, it was shooting up through the moon. And interest rates, do you know that back in the late 90s that you could go out and get accounts like 10-year bonds paying you 7% a year? I mean, no, that's not available today. So they were that study was based on, stock markets doing real well, high interest rates. That's not the case today, is it? In fact, here's an interesting tidbit for you. If you retired on January 1st, 2000 with your $500,000, January 1st, 2000, and if you followed that 4% rule, put half your money in stocks and half in bonds and took 4%, that $20,000 out every year, 10 years into your retirement, just 10 years into retirement, that $500,000 that you started with, well, it'd be down to about $200,000 or less. In other words, wasn't working the 4% rule because the markets didn't cooperate. Now, folks, this is important. Your income equals your lifestyle. The things you do, you're able to do because you've got income coming in. If that income gets reduced, so does your lifestyle, and we don't want that. So, what is the right percentage? Well, let me share that with you. Since 1998, over the last 20 years, as you can imagine, a lot of baby boomers are retiring, so a lot more studies have been done. And depending on the study you read, they say that no, you can't take 4% out a year anymore. Interest rates are too low. You can't even take 3% a year, not even 3. In fact, most studies you read these days say, well, quite frankly, you should only pull out maybe 2.5%. Now, in a $500,000 portfolio, that's only $10,000 or $12,000 a year. Now, I don't know about you, but if I do a little math up here in my head, I think, well, gee, I could probably take my $500,000, put it under a mattress, and just pull out $10,000 a year, and I'm pretty sure it's going to last about 50 years, which is probably 20 or 30 years longer than I'm going to last, right? So I think that most people, they find that number to be a bit, I don't know if laughable is the right word, but that's what the math says. Now, here's the good news. The good news is this. You see, you still can withdraw that 4% a year, and in fact, maybe even closer to 5%, even in today's low interest rate environment. But it's really important that you are working with a team that knows how to design retirement income plans. You've got to work with someone that's an expert, that not in growth and accumulation, not in growing a portfolio, but once you're retired, you need to protect your principal, you need to take some income and still grow it. It's a bigger job. And there are financial advisors who specialize in those things. That's who you've got to work with. And quite frankly, if you're facing retirement with income, that's why we always invite you to come visit with us in the office, because that's the kind of stuff we do. So you want to learn how to do that. It's different for everybody. I encourage you to pick up the phone and call. But don't make the mistake of just the old stock, bond, 50-50 portfolio and pulling out too much income. Because if you make that mistake, when markets go south, you could find yourself running out of money. And we don't want that.
Your grandchildren are precious to you. They are your life. This is your time to have that special relationship. Taking care of yourself is taking care of them. Centennial Wealth Advisory is offering a free, no-obligation retirement review to make sure you don't run out of money during your retirement. Centennial Wealth Advisory. Your best is yet to come.
Hi, I'm here with Larry Flynn. He's one of the advisors at Centennial Wealth Advisory. And Larry, I know you and the other advisors, they do a lot of public discussions, a lot of public seminars on financial matters regarding retirement planning. Can you share with our viewers a little bit more about, what do you talk about, and what kinds of topics can they expect to hear you speak on?
Mike, we put on a 1-hour presentation, and I'll talk about a number of various topics, from taxes to the new fiduciary standard of care, just a number of things that we believe are critical in making somebody's retirement vision a reality.
So this is all about getting them good information in today's world on a variety of retirement topics. That's right. Now, a lot of these events, I know these folks are out there watching us right now. I know what they're thinking. They're thinking, Larry, I've been to these before, and usually it's really nothing more than someone trying to sell me something. Can you maybe respond to people that think about that?
Yeah, I'm really surprised by that. I hear that all the time. Hey, I went to these before. They hard sold me. They were trying to pressure me into making an appointment with them. That's not what we're about. Just want to give them some good information. If they see something from the presentation that they might want to hear more about, then great, we'd love to meet with them. But we're not going to meet with somebody that doesn't want to meet with us. We're not going to hard sell them into having to come to our office.
Yeah, why waste time chasing down people who don't want to talk to you anyway, right? Right. Well, that sounds great. So, Larry, I know you do these throughout all of northern Michigan. For those folks watching that think, hey, I'd like to attend that. Does it cost anything, by the way? No cost. So they're free. So they think, okay, it's free to go. I'd love to go, learn a little bit, maybe have a nice dinner. How do they find out more information, like when these events are and how to register? What do they need to do?
Well, they can call the number they've been seeing on the screen during the program. Okay. They can visit the website, www.sen-wealth.com.
All right.
Yep.
So website, phone number, either way, they can get all the information they need. Is that right?
There you go.
All right, there you go, folks. Sounds to me like it'd be worth your time to attend. You've got nothing to lose. And hey, maybe you'll find out some great information that helps you make your retirement better. Thanks, Larry.
Will your retirement vision be your retirement reality? Centennial Wealth Advisory invites you to an eye-opening and exciting event packed with up-to-date, valuable, and important information. Join us for a free presentation with complimentary gourmet dinner and find out what you're missing on these vital topics. What is the suitability versus fiduciary standard of care in the financial services industry? What are the biggest tax traps? What are the hidden costs in mutual funds? Why is getting a second opinion the most important financial decision of your life? And much more. Choose the date and location that works best for you. Thursday, July 13th at the Grand Traverse Resort in Acme, or Wednesday, July 26th at the Inn at Bay Harbor in Petoskey. Presentations start at 6 p.m. and are free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow. But seating is limited and fills quickly. Call 888-608-5825 or visit sen-wealth.com to reserve your seats today. There is no cost and no obligation. Don't miss this important presentation, making your retirement vision a reality. Call 888-608-5825 today.
Hi, I'm here with John Torbett, and John, this week we've been talking about retirement income and some of the mistakes people make, and it's that time of the show where it's story time, right? It's time to hear some war stories. People you visit with people all the time. People watch a show, they call the number on the screen, they come in, they visit with you, and so you see what's happening out there.
That's right.
So why don't you go ahead? I'm sure you have in your mind some different stories of people that had some challenges with their income planning, or maybe even, hey, they had an issue, and when they came in, you caught a problem before it would have been a problem. So why don't you go ahead and talk about that a little bit?
Well, I'm thinking of an example of, we'll call them John and Jane, where they came to us. They were in their early 60s and recently retired. They'd had all their money in their 401k and ultimately had it all in stocks. It was one where we see pretty common, Mike, where it's they're taking on maybe too much risk, and they're transitioning from that growth and accumulation phase to now a preservation and income, and that's where we step in to help them with that. So what we did is we started by looking at it from the perspective of, okay, how much income do you want to draw from this portfolio? And I'm a visual learner, and so I started using the whiteboard and sort of mapping this out to show them, okay, what if we started segmenting out this portfolio to maybe have a certain portion here in this bucket, let's call it, to provide income for the next 5 years. And then maybe map out, okay, years 6 through 10, that's where this part of the portfolio is going to be used for that. And then maybe have another bucket of money that's going to provide income after 10 years.
So basically what you're talking about is they're currently all stocks.
Right.
Man, what would happen to them if they tried to retire with all their money in stocks?
Well, and that's the scary thing. I mean, you look back to like a 2008 when the market dropped in half, and they wouldn't have been able to continue with their retirement. They would have had to have gone back to work, and so that's where it's vital to make a transition.
So fortunately, you caught them before that,
right?
And then you were just saying, hey, here's one way to do it, which is segregating the account. You know, take that big 401k and start breaking it in pieces, each piece doing a specific job.
Right, exactly. And in their case, that was something that was very important to them. The income was a high priority when we were walking through, hey, what are your goals in retirement? They had a lot of travel planned, and they had a place that they were looking at down in Florida, actually. And so it was, okay, we need to make sure that they're going to have a certain amount of income that'll last for their lifetime.
Now, were they planning on taking you along with them on any of those trips?
No, I have 3 young kids, so I don't think they wanted that. Yeah.
So in any event, when all was said and done, I'm assuming that they ended up taking your advice on how to go about building this income portfolio.
Right. Yeah.
I imagine that. So what kind of percentage income were you able to generate? You based on the value of the portfolio, what percentage income were they able to generate safely and securely?
Yep. For their scenario, they had about $600,000 saved for retirement, and so we were using $2,000 a month, or 4% is what it equated to.
So they wanted $24,000 a year, a couple thousand a month. That's 4%. And by doing this segregation, at least in their circumstance, because everybody's different, right?
Exactly.
Because folks, remember that. Just because you may be similar to these folks, but that doesn't mean that we would recommend the same thing, of course.
Exactly.
Because everybody's different, but in their case, that worked out real well.
Right, and that gave them peace of mind, knowing that we're actually, this is 7 years later now that we're in that process, and things are moving along exactly the way that they had expected. So, yep.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, John, that's great. That's a great story. And folks, by the way, if you call the number, come in and interested in making sure your income is stable for your retirement, hey, it'd be a great reason to call, because the guys certainly can help you out. Now, I guess we're running out of time this week, John.
Right.
So, folks, we really appreciate you watching. I hope you enjoyed this week's show. And remember, you only want to retire once. Let's make sure you do it right the first time. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you next week.